a songwriter, you'll know how it feels to get bored and frustrated using the same old patterns and techniques over and over. So in this video, I want to show you some tried and tested picking techniques for guitar. And by the end of this video, you'll have so many different ways of getting new and interesting sounds out of your guitar. It will change the way you write songs forever. And I've created a free PDF showing these 12 picking patterns and some possible variations to experiment with. So if you're interested, you'll find the link below. We're going to start with two fundamental building blocks of great fingerpicking technique. And whilst these patterns are really simple in their purest form, they allow us to build more complex and interesting patterns later on. So a forward roll is played thumb, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to change which strings we put these fingers on. But to begin with, if we just start by doing this, that's a forward roll. Now, when we add chords to the equation, we want to move our thumb to accommodate each of those chords. So playing an E chord, for example, we would have our thumb on the 6th string. Moving to an A chord, we're going to move our thumb to the 5th string. For a D chord, we'd move our thumb to the 4th string. Even that technique can give us a beautiful and very appropriate sound for certain songs. Now, what we want to start doing with the forward roll is moving these 3 fingers across different string groups. So we get really 2 different sounds as we're doing a forward roll on the inside group, which is a warmer, more mellow sound. And then we get a brighter sound as we move to the outside 3. And even that on a static chord is a really great way to add movement. Now, one of the other building blocks of so many different fingerpicking patterns is the backward roll. And essentially, this is the same as the forward roll, except we're now doing the fingers in reverse. So instead of thumb 1, 2, 3, we're going thumb 3, 2, 1. The thumb is still playing first. That's still giving us the bass note. But we would now get this. And like the forward roll, we can move the fingers between the inside grouping and the outside grouping. Now the forward roll, unsurprisingly, has a forward momentum to it. It feels like it pushes things along a little bit more. And this is really important because some songs lend themselves to the backward roll because they want to be a little bit more laid back, a little bit more reflective. And there are some songs that want the forward roll. They want that propulsion and that momentum that the forward roll brings. So imagine we're trying to create something that's dark but also has a driving feel. The backward roll might sound really appropriate, however, if we're dropping the tempo way down and creating more of a reflective atmosphere. And the really fun part is then combining forward and backward rolls. So if we go up with a forward roll, come back with a backward roll, and do that across the chord sequence, that starts to give us some really lovely movement within each of these chords. And once we get comfortable with both of these patterns, we can start adding little variations to them. For example, if I take that A minor chord and play an inside forward roll, and then play an inside forward roll again, but switch my third finger to the outside string, we get kind of a little split roll sound. Now we can start to modify these patterns even further. Instead of playing thumb 1, 2, 3, we can start to pinch the thumb and one of these fingers simultaneously. So I'm going to take a D chord and pinch the thumb and the third finger together, and then do a backward roll. And a lovely technique is when we start bringing in vamps on the left hand. We can also do that technique with a forward roll. This pinch method gives us so many different options. If we go back to that D chord, instead of pinching between the thumb and the third, we can pinch between the thumb and the second. Or maybe even between the thumb and the first finger. Here's a pattern that I really love, and it's taking the forward roll and changing the speed of it whilst playing the same chord. So if I take this C chord, I'm going to start with a quick little forward roll like this, just a thumb 1, 2. Then I'm going to hit the third finger and come backwards those two strings, like that. And that in itself is a nice sound. But what I'm going to do is now go quick roll and then a series of slow rolls. And that little 3-note fragment becomes a really useful technique when we start looking at. When I was young and learning guitar, this was a pattern that I would say helped me fall in love with guitar. And it's a very simple pattern in the sense that we're just going thumb 1, 2, thumb 1, 2. Just like that. Now, if we split the fingers, we can get some of those higher notes in play. We can go again. It doesn't really matter how far apart the thumb is from the fingers. The main thing is to keep that triplet going. Bup, 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 bup. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I'll show you the way I originally learned how to play this pattern and the way I used to practice it. Now we can introduce an alternating thumb to really take this pattern up another level. So here I'm moving the thumb between those two strings. And this application of the triplet really starts becoming more useful for a lot of songwriting applications because we often want to hear bass notes when we're writing and playing on guitar. Now let's look at some really different techniques and ways of using the picking hand. And some of these are going to be almost like half strum, half picking techniques. But again, they are really, really useful and you'll find them in a lot of different songs. So it's worthwhile getting our fingers used to these kind of patterns. So if we just take a G chord and create that kind of sound. We're just gently brushing the strings with the back of the finger. And then we're going to go. This pattern really creates a lovely, relaxed kind of vibe and works beautifully at slower tempos, but we can tighten it up and play it at faster tempos. And that flick is really accompanied by a palm mute in this situation. There, the fingers are doing a little bit more work with the roll, so I'll slow that down. The cluster smack, it's this sound. It's the sound of the heel of our hand smacking against the strings in a really percussive way. So we've got a forward roll going 1, 2, 3, smack. And the forward roll is there to give it that momentum and that push. The smack is there to create that percussive sound. It sounds like this. And another little addition to this technique is adding some extra bass notes with a thumb, which helps it give a little more groove, a little more bounce, but it also allows you to create some interesting chromatic bass movement. This idea of the cluster is really important because it again gives us so many options as songwriters when thinking of interesting ways to activate our chords. So if we take a C bar chord, we can roll that chord. But instead of rolling them and hearing each string individually, we can also cluster it after the thumb. And it's this thumb cluster sound that we're going for here, because we can simply go like that, or we can move the cluster across different string groups. And this is also a really different kind of sound. It's not one that you commonly hear, but it's a really beautiful way to accompany a melodic idea. And if I play it a little faster and pulse the fretting hand, the chord hand, you'll hear that you can get this lovely staccato kind of percussive sound as well. 3, 4, and... As the name suggests, this pattern is all about alternating between the thumb and the fingers in a fairly relentless motion. And this is a great option if you're going for an indie folk kind of vibe. So the pattern goes thumb 1, thumb 2, thumb 3, thumb 2. What's great about this pattern is you can really set it up and sort of forget about it. It's one of those ones that you can lock into very easily and keep going throughout an entire song. And you can do this at quite high speeds. Once you've got that down, you can of course create your own patterns. It doesn't have to be thumb 1, thumb 2, thumb 3, thumb 2. We can mix up the fingers. For example, Travis picking is one of the most well-known and documented picking methods and has been around for a long, long time. But it continues to have this timeless influence, and we hear it popping up in songs all over the place. And really, there are lots of variations of Travis picking, but the main point of Travis picking is the alternating thumb. So if we just set up a groove like this, that's the main pulse of the Travis pick. It's got the thumb going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, over and over. What we do then with these other fingers is really where the variation comes in. So we can do a little roll like that. We can also throw in some little mini clusters. Whatever variations you choose with the fingers, the main thing is to keep that thumb alternating between two strings. And that's really the driving sound of Travis picking. And up tempo, it really does sound great. This has to be one of my favorite sounds on the guitar and one that I use all the time in songwriting. The 10th interval is a third played up the octave. And to create the 10th, we pick a bass note on the 6th string and then we skip across 2 strings to the 3rd string. That creates the interval of a 10th. And what we're going to do is pinch those two to create that 2-note 10th interval. That's a major 10th. This is a minor 10th. So once we've got that pinch sound, we can then start adding little ornamentations to it with the other fingers. It's a beautiful sound, it's very warm, it's very open, but we can also make it busier by introducing more fingers, perhaps activating some of the open strings, and we can also increase the tempo. And if you're interested in learning more about that technique, I recently made a video breaking down Paul McCartney's Blackbird. So if you're interested, check that out. Happy songwriting.